Support me and be on my wall of supporters. Thank you, my nerd. Do you remember those dark medieval times, my dear nerds, where we all hungered for a flippy handheld and no manufacturer actually created a decent one? Pepperidge Vlad remembers this was a long time ago last year, but now we live in a different reality. Our Marvel universe is one where we have an abundance of flippy handhelds, and we should be happy about this. But there was one manufacturer, Powkiddy, that didn't really respond to this trend up until now, and they gave us the Powkiddy V90s. And I want to quickly just highlight before I go on that they even put a protective film over their logo over here, which I found quite interesting and adorable. The V90s has quite a bit of competition because it's not the only flippy boy in town anymore. We also have this one, and by the way, Tech Dweeb, the gray handhelds here are for you. I know you love gray, you know I love black, but in this review, I tried to get all the gray handhelds that I had around the house, solely because I know you want the gray Powkiddy V90s, and I've got it. Ha ha ha. Mwahaha. Look at it, Tech Dweeb. Huh? Trade you. And give me your transparent black one and I'll give you this gray one. Now the Powkiddy V90s is quite divisive in a great many ways. It doesn't have Wi-Fi and it doesn't have Bluetooth, which might be a deal breaker for a lot of people, but my opinion on that is that you shouldn't care. Really, you shouldn't care. You don't really use Wi-Fi or Bluetooth apart from configuring the OS and maybe putting cover art and scraping cover art on it, and you can do that in other means. So it's not really a deal breaker, and this is easily forgiven because the V90s is immensely cheap. You can get it for about $40 to $50. When you find it reduced, you get it for even cheaper. So what Powkiddy wanted to do here is to give us basically the cheapest flippy boy that the market would have. And in that sense, for the budget that you would pay, I think this is a very, very complete, in a way, handheld. First of all, the hinge. Oh, the hinge. We had a lot of drama with the Mio Flip hinge. You know the whole drama about it, I assume. In case you didn't, the hinge would snap on the gray Mio Flip at one point, but I'm happy to say that the hinge on the Powkiddy is as solid as one would expect from an Anberneck. You know, you can play with it, you can abuse it, you can throw it off a cliff and it will probably survive. Don't do that, that's a joke. Disclaimer, I'm not liable if you throw your handheld down a cliff, but I think the Powkiddy V90s is designed to be that handheld that you take anywhere with you, that you just chuck like this and you throw it in the backpack and you rough it around and you know that it's a plastic toy, and that's a great thing. A plastic toy doesn't mean lower quality, it isn't an insult, it doesn't mean cheapness. It simply means that in the back of your head, you can use it without any anxiety that you might break it. This is the kind of handheld that you take hiking with you, that you throw around in your backpack and it swims over there with all of your stuff, and you just use it in a tent and in a hammock and on the train and whatever. This is supposed to take hits. This right here is supposed to be a workhorse, and that's how you should treat it. Now, when it comes to specs, it's really quite surprising. First of all, we have the, let me find it, Allwinner 133P. In case you don't know about this CPU in particular, we love it. We really love it. It's the same one in the TrimUI Brick and the TrimUI Smart Pro, meaning that it has quite a bit more performance than what we have on the H700 Anbernic devices. Not by a lot, but you have a bit of extra performance there, and extra performance is something that you should never disconsider. It's a good addition to have. Now, it also comes with a screen protector, which I took off because I like I like seeing the screen as clear as possible. Just for you to know, it also comes with a screen protector. There's a removable door where you can replace the battery. I freaking love this. The Anbernic Flippy Boy, the RG35XX SP, also has this, and Mio should also learn from this. Let's take a quick look around. We have the volume buttons, a second card slot if you want to separate your games from your OS. We have the shoulder and trigger buttons. They feel quite nice. These two, the R2 and L2, they are a bit clickier. Let me know if you hear this. And on this other side we have the power button and the reset button. Now, I just want to nitpick on the fact that we need to have more handhelds with a reset button. That's how I accidentally killed my first Mio Mini Plus, because I had to unplug the battery to reset it at one point. And I ripped that 2-pin connector, but if I would have had a flipping reset button, that would have been prevented. I wouldn't even have had to open it up. Quick mention though, the Powkiddy V90s was generously provided to me by the nice guys at LitNXT, and LitNXT actually has a summer sale of their own where you can get 15% off with the code SUMMER15. Which is quite nice because you can drive this price in the $40-something range, and I really encourage you to do that. You see, when it comes to handhelds, my dear nerds, the $40 something range is that range where I think you wouldn't feel bad if you would abuse a handheld in the good way. $40, while it's not a sum that is super small, it's also not a sum that you would suffer over in case you would really go to town on this thing and you would mistreat it a bit. So yeah, the link will be in the video description below in case you want to check it out. I like LitNXT. They are very reliable and they are awesome guys, especially when it comes to after-sale support. So if you have a problem with your handheld, you have the peace of mind to know that you're basically covered and somebody takes care of you. But anyway, coming back to the 90s, you might wonder what's the difference, why you should get this, especially because it has no Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, over the Anbernic RG35XX SP. Well, the first answer that I could give you is the extra performance. Like I said, the all-winner 133P actually packs a bit more of a punch than the H700 on this one. Besides this, it's cheaper. If you compare retail prices between these two, you get a lot more handheld with the Powkiddy than the SP from Anbernic. So I'm gonna put this little guy aside for now, because I want us to go a bit deeper in this. It comes with, they say Batocera here, dev mode, blah blah blah. What you need to understand is that it's basically an emulation station front end. You can put themes on it, you can put TechDweeb's theme, and you can stylize it any way you want. Personally, I went with one of the incorporated themes because I'm lazy, and out of the box you have quite a decent selection of games and it's kind of pretty well organized. I love the full screen layout over here. You have a ton of arcade games, basically any kind of platform that you imagine playing when it comes to these Linux emulation handhelds. Basically, all three of these are in the same area where you top up at Dreamcast and PSP, but because you have a bit extra performance here, you can think in terms of shaders. You can use RetroArch shaders in a bit of a better way. Playing with it, I kinda realized that most of the platforms are optimized. They put custom overlays. For example, we have GBA Advance here. We have that Game Boy Advance overlay at the bottom, like the original GBA Flippy Boy. It actually looks very nice. The buttons are membrane, as you would expect. The D-pad is a bit mushy, but totally usable. In fact, I would say that it's more of a decent D-pad than on most other handhelds. You can play most games that you expect. This is me running Doom for PlayStation 1. I missed Doom. You know, people don't talk enough about Doom in my opinion. They should talk more about Doom. Come on, open. This was a real legendary game back in the day, and I think a lot of people should come back to it. But runs buttery smooth, as you would expect. Runs everything between Dreamcast, PSP and everything under. This means NES, PlayStation 1, all the arcade platforms that were released back in the day. If you want to exit a game, you just have to double press the start and select buttons at the same time, and you're back in the main menu over here. It was quite a quick exit compared to other Linux handhelds. I appreciate that. Honestly, it looks quite nice, but it has a few shortcomings as well. The main drawback, in my opinion, is that closing the lid doesn't put the system in standby. You see, it's still open, and I think this is just a thing that they could have optimized. Why the heck didn't they put an auto sleep feature when you close the lid? I won't understand. Both of the competitor handhelds have this. The Anbernic RG35XX SP has this. The Flippy Boy, the Mio Flip has this as well. They could have done this. It's very easy, in my opinion, to cave into that instinct where, oh my god, I'm playing something. I'm playing an arcade game which I love, and oh no, my wife is coming, you know, and you close it. But did you close it really? Because you haven't. It is in fact still running and still consuming the battery. The screen is still on. I think a lot of people might drain their batteries by mistake with this. When you get this handheld, remember that the power button here on the side is your best friend. You have to close it via the power button, and then you close the Flippy Boy into its protective turtle state. But it's not the end of the world. It's a thing that you get used to in the first few minutes. You know, it's not a deal breaker by any stretch of the imagination, just a bit annoying to see that this is there. But again, for the price, one cannot complain. Remember, this is like a third or even more, I would say 40% cheaper than the original Flippy Boy from Anbernic. I'm talking about retail prices. Of course, you'll find both of these on sale. Remember, LitNXT has a summer sale coupon, which you can take advantage of. Overall though, it gives you that handheld experience that you crave, you most likely crave when it comes to getting a handheld. You get to play anything that you want, and you get to experience the childhood games through a fairly decent piece of hardware, and I think this is amazing for what it is. Again, my dear nerds, I want to state, when I say that it's amazing, I mean for the price that you pay. Of course, there are better handhelds out there. Personally, out of all three of these little guys, you know me, I would actually prefer the Mio Flip because of these little sticks. Now, I have learned with great pain in my heart that a lot of you beautiful nerds, you don't want sticks on your flippy handhelds, and I've learned to accept that. For someone who doesn't want sticks, I think this will be right up your alley. But the main thing about the Powkiddy, like I said earlier, is how much handheld you get for the price that you pay. And for that, it's okay. And I want to also mention Powkiddy is kind of famous for having low build quality and low quality plastic. I really think that, let me just exit this real quick. I really think that they are putting an active effort to turn this around, because the Powkiddy V90s feels, in terms of plastic quality, similar to what we would get from the Anbernic. It's really designed to be a direct competitor with the Anbernic RG35XX SP, and that shows. That shows in how it's constructed. I look at the hinge, it's in a similar style, even though I think Powkiddy invented this hinge with the original V90, which was smaller and weaker, but looking at them, they have the same kind of design language over here. Way thicker. Both of these are way thicker than the Mio Flip. That's another reason why I love the Flip. But both of these have a good solid hinge. You can play with it. Like I said, you can abuse it. This is really a handheld. Let's call it the zero anxiety handheld. This is the kind that you will abuse in terms of handhelds, similar to how you mistreated the original GBA when you were a kid. I think this is the main allure here. I really was trying to find out why the heck am I feeling so comfortable with this one, and I think it's because of that. There's a certain charm in knowing that something is cheap enough for you not to care if you scratch it or mistreat it a bit, and I kind of admire the fact that Powkiddy lowered the price as much as they could to give us something as decent as this. Now, remember, I just want to remove this thought from your head. The plastic quality here is actually decent. It could have been way worse. It could have been cheap feeling like other Powkiddy devices, but it is not. And one thing that I should have said at the beginning of the video, but I forgot, it has a 3000 milliamp battery, which is enough horsepower to basically give you, I would say, up to 5 hours of kind of consistent play. Surprisingly enough, it also has a vibration motor. Not a lot of handhelds like these have one, and it's a 3.5-inch IPS. They say full fit display, but I wouldn't call it that. Overall, a good value proposition. I like that Tech Dweeb's video is in the landing page over here. So, my dear nerds, at the end of it, should you buy the Powkiddy V90s, or should you go for the Mio Flip or for the Anbernic RG35XX SP, aka the original Flippy Boy? I will say this, considering that I have all three of them right here, most of the experience of the enjoyment that I would get from a handheld, I feel like there's not much of a difference between them. I get the same amount of dopamine, the same amount of trip down nostalgia lane with playing my games that I would get from these other two. Now, you know me, I'm kind of in love with the Mio Flip. Not a lot of people are, apparently, but I like it. I like it because of the sticks, I like it because of the hinge. The hinge locks in two different places, this one, and you can even push it all the way. With these two, you only have this angle, or, endure. There's only one angle. You either like it or you have to force yourself to like it, and that's kind of it. You can put it in the middle, but it only locks here. So, if you want something that's budget oriented, yeah, a pretty good option. Like I said, bang for the buck. I think it defeats these other two. Of course, you will have to probably configure it a bit. You could put TechDweeb's team on it. TechDweeb, I love you very much. Let people know in the comments, in case you're seeing this, how they should get your team, in case they want it. But anyway, I digress, my dear nerds. Overall, I think there are very few handhelds that give us a lot for very little, and I think this Powkiddy is one such highlight where we get a lot of handheld for very little dollars. Now, of course, there's a huge conundrum here because you might find other handhelds in very aggressive sales, but this one is cheap off the bat, and I think this is very important for a lot of people. So, these are my thoughts on the Powkiddy V90s. Let me know what you think, my dear nerds. Is this worth your time and attention? Would you skip it? Would you secretly would have wanted sticks in the bottom part here like I do? There's a lot of variables that might make you either like or not like this specific handheld. Again, for the price, it's a good contender. Is it the best? Not really, but it is the best for 40 something dollars. But that's all from me, my dear nerds. We'll see each other in the next one. I love you very much. Nerd kisses aren't going anywhere.